Hello and welcome to Healing Within, number 14. I'm Roy Fensom. I'll be your host this evening, and I own Moon and Mask, and we put these broadcasts on so that you have the ability to help heal yourself. We don't want it to be just about going along and seeing your doctor and seeing the friends and your specialist. We want you to consider alternate and natural therapies. This evening we will have Irene Heart. Oh, I always get the name wrong. One moment, please. Tonight, as a special guest, we have Irene Heart Striving, who does healing via astrology. And I thought, just to get us going tonight, something similar to last week, where we looked at a rather long mindfulness meditation. I just want to do a quick one tonight, and anybody out there that wants to join in, you're more than welcome. Basically, it's just 2 breaths. You can do this anywhere, at work, at home, by the computer, on the computer, wherever you happen to be. And basically, I'll ring the bell in a second. And when I do, I would like you to simply stand up. You take a deep breath, you close your eyes, and you attempt to allow your body to relax on the breath out. Then you take a second breath, and then this is where the mindfulness comes in. Think about what you're doing, such as I'm breathing cold air or warm air into my body from the lounge room or from the bedroom or where you happen to be at the time. You are not watching TV, you are not doing anything else. It's what you're doing at that very present moment, which will be breathing. So try and work around that. And it's just to bring you back into the mindfulness of the present. Now, this can be done on an hourly basis at work. It can be done if you're a truckie or something when you get out and you move into a place where you're working. You can just take that 30 seconds is all it takes to do this. Now, if you're interested, please go along with me on this. Now, remember, all you have to do is 2 breaths, and I'm going to go through it with you. Here we go. You breathe in, close your eyes, and allow yourself to simply relax. Go soft. Flop the hands around. Take a second breath in. I'm breathing in warm air from a room that I'm in for relaxing. And that's all there is to it, honestly. It's as simple as that, and then you go back to work. And you can head back into whatever it was you were doing, whether you're typing on a computer, watching a show, or doing anything like that. This is a very quick thing just to bring you back into the room and keep you present in the moment. If there's anybody out there tonight who has questions for our guest, please listen in and ask those questions. You are more than welcome to ask questions of the guest. We will answer as much as we can, and if you would like to see somebody on the show doing a particular thing, then you are more than welcome to log in and just leave us what it is that you want us to take a look at. I'll give you a little bit more after we've talked to Irene, and as to who's coming up in the next week after that. And we can talk about other things in areas that maybe I haven't thought about. So if you have any comments at any time, please put them up, and I will go straight over to Irene in a matter of seconds. Just a quick scroll across there to let you know that this is Healing Within and that I'm Roy Fensom. So we will get straight into our guest, and here we go. Whoa, going out of picture. Hello, Irene.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have on your, I've seen your Facebook page and Clean Your Lens, which surprised me. It wasn't what I expected. Hopefully tonight will be about how people can use astrology for healing. Is that right?
Yeah, so the kind of astrology that I do is very much focused on using the planetary wisdom, so focusing on the main seven planets, which is the Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. And through working with the energies of the planets, you can align yourself with the most harmonious aspect of each planet, and then you overcome any trials or tribulations or suffering in your life. So it's more about how you reorder your inner psyche to be able to handle life in a better way.
So people who are going through a particular ailment or a particular stressful environment at the time, how would they need to contact you in order to find out what's affecting them or what planets or whatever would affect their outcomes?
Well, what I usually do is I work with the birth chart, and on the birth chart, you see the reoccurring patterns that someone is born with in this particular lifetime. And that those patterns give me an idea about the kinds of life lessons and challenges a person will face. And then we go through a session, and I go through the birth chart, and through the birth chart, it reveals different aspects and layers that the individual can work on and address. And I give some guidance about things that people can do in relation to particular problems. That's one way of doing it, but there's also many other ways.
So it would be a necessity to have a birth chart first, and then that would give you some idea of what sort of problems this person may have or what problems they should be looking for.
We don't really need a birth chart. I've also devised another system, which is a bit more of a divination kind of system, which is based more on intuition, and where I lay out cards of the planets, and then I get people to just tune in and find what planet they resonate with. And for example, say if someone really resonated with the planet of the sun relates to the pure consciousness. It's like the number one, so where there's no division, and the light of the sun gives us the awareness and the intelligence to be able to see things clearly. So if someone might be in a state of confusion about something, then they can work with the solar energy to help have them have a more clearer awareness of the situation.
Well, I hope that was definitely clear to a lot of people. It seems that one of your friends or something has already sent in, Sarah Devine.
Oh, yeah.
She's boosting you already. She says you do great work. So that's a good omen for other people who are interested. So the cards, is that, I suppose, a singular aspect of not unlike oracle cards where you're using your intuition to work on the person's cards that they're drawn to.
Yeah, it's intuitive in that sense, kind of like that, but it's more about also relating to people sensing in and feeling, and also just usually I get a lot of information just by talking from a person, because the way a person talks about their problems, it gives me clues and ideas about what kind of planetary influences are playing a part in the situation. Because when you become very familiar with the meanings and the associations and the symbolism and the archetypes of each planet, then you just kind of see all of reality as different planets combined. So they're kind of like the building blocks of creation. And it kind of gives you the keys to be able to tweak and to change things that might be not so harmonious, and align yourself with a more developing your character to overcome suffering. So if you say have a problem with frustration or anger, which would relate more to the planet Mars, the highest aspect of Mars is having a self-disciplined attitude towards things. And self-discipline comes from connecting to pure consciousness. It doesn't come from the mind. The mind can't isn't really going to be telling the body what to do, because the mind is like, how they say, it's like a monkey. It's just like la, 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 doing its thing. So you use your willpower to connect to consciousness and to, through self-discipline, direct the energy of Mars, which is like the raw, passionate energy, the fire of life, in a way that is creatively constructive. So you might channel the energy towards, say, a martial art or some kind of, exercise or yoga practice, or some kind of anything that you use your hands with, and you get very invested in and focused, and you have to have a very sharp mind. And then that uses up the energy, so that then it doesn't get put into, because when you repress or you're not really using the energy, it can become more destructive and go more into anger and frustration and things like that.
Right. There's a lot of people at the moment that are saying that they're feeling a lot of changes in the energy that's going on around us. Now, would that be related in any way to the planets and their movement at this moment?
Yeah, well, the thing about the planets is that they're always doing something. Like, life is constant change and constant flux. Every moment there is, something different happening. And we as individuals have to find a way to become stable and centered, regardless of what the change, of what the flow and what the flux is happening around us. So what I personally favor, rather than focusing on the change, is focusing on how to connect with the inner stability and the core, the real soul of the real light of the being. And then from there, you're able to be strong and weather whatever happens externally. Because if you're always like looking at the planets to say, well, what are they doing here? What are they doing now? Then you're always going to be in a reactive mindset rather than in a aware and creative mindset, if you understand what I mean. So it's more about creating the way you want to relate to reality, rather than just being in a reaction towards it.
Well, that's great. And thank you, Lisa and Tanya, for joining in. I'm glad that you could drop in tonight. And if you've got any questions for Irene, you're more than welcome to put them up, and we'll certainly put them to Irene before she leaves. As quickly as possible, please, if you can. I lost track of where I was going to go with that, unfortunately. The people that are out there at the moment, there's people out there who are in the spiritual aspect, or readers, and they're healers and the like, and they know about the energy that's coming up. So they're more or less prepared, and they're grounding themselves and the like for that. But for the average person that's out there and is sensing these new energy changes that are coming up, is there anything that you might suggest for them?
Well, everything should revolve around having a solid and steady lifestyle practice. So regardless of what's happening, there are certain things that are just always going to be beneficial, such as having like a morning routine of some kind, having a meditation practice that you do. The other thing is also to always be aware of the foods that you're eating, obviously, and getting enough exercise, fresh air, connecting with the sun. Doing earthing or grounding, where you put your feet directly on the earth, is one way as well. The other thing is there's certain connecting it with the heart and generating gratitude and appreciating things in life as well is always going to put you in a better kind of mindset as well. And there's things obviously that are kind of very specific to a person that would depend on me looking at their chart and their situation, because what I've found is that one thing will work for one person, but then for another person, that won't work at all. So I'm very individualized in the way I approach things with people. So I'm not so good at giving the generalized kind of messages.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. Do you do any type of classes or group sessions that people can sort of come in on?
Yeah, I actually have a workshop coming up near the end of June. And that workshop's going to be on connecting and calling in the planets. It's going to be run a bit like a ritual and an invocation to call in the energy of the purest aspect of the planets into our lives. and it's going to involve the mantras of the planets from Vedic astrology. And I'll also be using crystal singing bowls as well, and different sound techniques. And it will be basically about finding clarity and helping you to remove confusion and to know exactly what you need to do to get where you need to go. But it will be all done, it will be facilitated in the way that I won't be so much telling you that. It will be more, I'll be creating a space, and through that, things will be uncovered and revealed to you as you engage with the process.
Well, if there's anybody out there that's interested in that, what's the best way to contact you and make it known?
Probably through the Cleanse Your Lens Facebook page, or you can connect with me on Irene Heart Striving, which is my other Facebook page, or you can just add me as a friend. And yeah, either of those would work.
I've got the Heart Striving services. Would that be the one to contact?
Yeah, that would be fine to contact through that.
I'll put that up on the screen for people that are interested.
That will work.
And if you want to have one of these sessions, then it would be great if you could contact Irene on her Facebook page and just leave her a message. I'll also put it into the background so that people won't have to, they can just get it on the replay, and they can contact you at their leisure and see if you can get some people through that. That would be interesting. I'm sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, when I actually do readings, I do a thing called a birth chart walk, where I, on the floor, lay out the birth chart. And at the end of the reading, I get the person to walk around the birth chart, and I do a guided meditation journey as they walk around. So it's a way to end the reading, because people get a lot of information from the reading, and sometimes they feel quite overwhelmed from that. So it helps people to integrate at the end of the reading, and it's like a personalized ritual for that person to really solidify what I've said and to have a tactile experience of it.
This gets more interesting by the minute. Is there anything that you would like to portray that I have not gone over? Because I don't know enough about what you do to promote it well enough. So if you have something you would like to tell people about, you're more than welcome to give them as much information as you would like.
Sure. Well, one thing I would like to say that is that no matter what is happening in your life currently at the moment, that there's always things that you can do once you step back and look at things from more of a bird eyes perspective, rather than being so obsessed and attached to things. And through connecting with me and doing an astrology session, that's one thing that I can really help you with, is to be able to give you perspectives that maybe you haven't really considered before. And that sometimes just hearing a perspective can be healing in itself, because a lot of the times we might be feeling stuff and going through things, but we don't have the rationale or the understanding to put it into the proper context and make sense of it. And sometimes that's needed, but then other times we just need to be heard and listened to, and we need to just know that someone understands and can feel what we're going through as well. And so the readings can do both of those kinds of things, depending on who you are and where you are as a person. And maybe I'll just quickly go through the the main 7 planets, and just say a little thing about each one. How much time do we have?
You have as much time as you need, and at least 10 minutes, so you've still got plenty of time.
Okay, so we'll begin with the sun. So the sun is basically, if you think about the sun in the sky, it's the light, it's the consciousness, it's the awareness. Oh, cool, thanks. And it's the thing that gives us the light to be able to see clearly. It was also related to the number 1. So it's when that state of consciousness where things aren't divided. So everything is one, everything is as it is. The sun is also about our personal sense of authority as well, because the sun is like the king of the sky. So it's how we use our authority. And some people, when they misuse the energy, can be quite maybe like dictators or narcissistic, or very kind of wanting to control what's going on around them because they're afraid of losing their power. So when you're centered in your pure, you could say, spiritual power, then you're not afraid of other people at all. You're connected and you're just at peace with that power, and you don't need to like abuse other people with that power. So that's the sun. The moon is like the number 2. So that's where we enter into duality. The moon reflects the light of the sun. So the moon is like the mind that reflects the pure consciousness of the sun. And the mind starts to have preferences. It has likes and it has dislikes. It's where emotions come into it as well. So with the moon, and when people are very much influenced by the moon, they can be very what you might call fickle or changeable, and they're not as steady, whereas the sun is very steady and constant. The moon is more changeable and more going with the flow, going with the seasons. And sometimes that works well, and other times it's not, because there might be a situation where you need to be very consistent, but then you have a lot of moon energy and you're not able to be consistent. Then there's other situations where you need to be able to go with those flows and those rhythms. So yeah, that's when the moon works really well. And the moon is also nourishing and nurturing. It's like a mothering kind of energy. So the moon is said to have no enemies. The moon likes everyone. So she's like, it's like the mother who doesn't have a favorite of children. It's just like all of her children she loves equally, that kind of energy. Then we move into Mars, which is number 3, and Mars is like a triangle, and Mars is always trying to get and grasp something. So you think of a triangle, there's a point, there's always a direction that the triangle is heading in. So that triangle and that direction is the goal that Mars is trying to grasp onto. Because Mars is very passionate in acquiring things for itself, when it comes up against an obstacle, that's when the anger can come out. When there's an obstacle that won't shift, that's when the violence can always wanting to move somewhere. When you get to number 4, which is Mercury, Mercury is, a lot of people think about Mercury as an air element, but it's actually exalted in the earth sign of Virgo, and the 4 is like a very stable, there's like 4 points, it's a very stable thing. So Mercury is like our intellect and our ability to rationalize, but also our ability to discriminate between what is right or wrong action, and have the ability to see clearly what we've done and what impacts that has on other things, and then what we should choose to do that helps us to evolve and to elevate. And Mercury is also about the synergy of energy. So it's like takes the opposites and it synergizes to be able to find a greater equilibrium. So when Mercury is kind of not really working that well, a person might not be able to communicate their truth very well, or they might just keep making the same mistakes over and over again because they're not able to see in the moment what is the right thing for them to do. And then we move on to Jupiter, which is the number 5. And Jupiter is like the stability. If you take the stability of the 4 and the extra point, it's like the human with 2 arms, outstretched legs, and the head. So Jupiter is about the expanding, procreative kind of force that's always interested in the goodness of growth, everything that's abundant and growing in like a good way. It's very expansive and very much about how do you align with the higher principles. So when Jupiter gets too out of balance, it can become a bit over the top and grandiose, or it can just become very stuck in kind of like idealism, or what's the word when you become over attached to I've got a mental blank. It's the word when like fantastical delusions of grandeur, like these fantastical notions that you think that you're not really so connected to the reality of things. And then we move on to the Venus, which is number 6. And Venus is all about beauty and harmony. And 6 is a very harmonious number. It's like 2 lots of 3s. So it's like the equilibrium of the evenness. And Venus is very good for being able to have a devotional heart and a devotional nature to things, and to really enjoy beauty and to seek harmony in relationships. So Venus wants there to be cooperation. It wants the win-win situations for everyone. So it has that kind of heart. When it's not operating very well, it can kind of get caught in indulgences of the senses, which might lead it to ruin, like becoming too intoxicated in something, or becoming so attached to particular desires that end up being destructive, which can occur sometimes. And then we just quickly move to Saturn, which is number 7. And Saturn kind of is the reality itself. So anytime that you're not 100% living in the reality, Saturn is the thing that comes along and kind of goes, hey, and gives you kind of the kick in the face kind of thing. So the more connected you are to reality, the more you're able to accept the life and death process. You're in an acceptance of what happens rather than a resistance of what happens. And then Saturn's more on your side. Saturn is also the wisdom that comes from being able to apply yourself in earthly experience and gaining mastery from that application. But because Saturn is kind of like related to death and can be related to suffering, sometimes people feel a lot of depression, or they feel a lot of loneliness with Saturn as well. So the way to work with Saturn is you have to come face to face with your own loneliness, become really comfortable being alone, and also realize that you only experience suffering when you're not living in connection with reality as it is in the moment.
Well, I know that I found a couple of those that resonated with me. So I've got a couple of planets on my side at least, and I'm hoping that some of the people that were listening in picked up on some of those interesting facts and maybe saw something of themselves in the planets there to give them a heads up on what they should be looking at.
Yeah.
If you would like to just go over the course that you've got coming up so that people can again find where you are and how to connect with you and what the course is, that would be good.
Yeah, so the workshop I've got coming up, which is I think the last Wednesday in June, it's going to be held in the Athelston suburbs, and it will be run from about 7 to 9 o'clock, so a couple of hours. And
is that in the morning or the evening?
The evening, yeah, the evening. And this workshop will basically be a place where you can come and learn a bit about the planets and build your relationship with the planets, and also experience a ritual to invoke the planets into your life at their most, harmonious, highest aspect. And we'll be using sound and different associations like colors and mantras to do this. And then I'll be like guiding you through a process to reflect upon the energies that come up, so that you can start to consider and develop your own way of understanding the planets, because it's really about the personal relationship that you can build with these energies. So it's a space to facilitate that understanding and awareness and that opening, and an experience of just like, because it's like when you connect in with the energy of the planets, you're like connecting with this primordial energy. So it's just a beautiful experience as well.
Well, I certainly hope after that content that you've encouraged a lot more people to join in on the course, and I hope you do well with it. We may at some point ask you to come back and have another go and explain maybe something else about what you're doing. There's a lot of people out there at the moment that are using sound therapies, including myself. So to me, it's just an extension of what a lot of other people are doing. And I look forward to hearing more from some of the people that are listening in tonight. And I certainly hope that they, if they don't catch it on the live tonight, that they tell their friends and tell them to come back and watch it in the replay, because I found it terribly interesting. And I hope to have you on again at some other point.
Thank you. It's been good to be here.
Thank you very much, Irene, and I will catch up with you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
Bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was most interesting, and I know a lot more now about healing by astrology than I did when I started this tonight. And to those people that have tuned in, thank you very much, and I hope you found the wisdom of Irene suitable to what you were thinking about. As to some of the things that Irene does, such as the sound therapies, there's a lot of us out there that do sound therapies. Excuse me. Including myself, I do sound baths and meditations of a Thursday evening at St. Clement's Church in Prospect. So if anybody is interested in that, I will put my my link up to that shortly. And if you're interested in more of what Irene does, we have put up into the comments there her Facebook page, and you are more than welcome to join in on that and see if Irene has spaces available. By the looks of it, I'd say it's going to be one of those things that's going to fill up reasonably quickly. So if you are interested, then certainly get onto it as quickly as possible. And if you have friends listening in that might be interested in that, we encourage you to spread it around and try and get as many people interested in the things that we are doing. Now we go back to healing yourself, and this is healing, what healing within is all about. It's about trying to find ways that you can heal yourself. We have been asked to try and find somebody who can explain the use and the content and the frequencies of crystals, and we are looking into that. We have not yet had somebody that's encouraged enough to come on and do a live broadcast. I think the live broadcast might scare them a little bit. But if you know somebody, you are more than welcome to let us know in the comments, and we will try and contact them. We also, next week, have Michelle Carley. Michelle used to do a great many things, from kingdom water to cosmetics to healings and a great many other things. Hello, Kelly. It's nice to have you on board. Well, great interview. Thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate that, and I think you'll find that Irene is familiar with doing public speaking and doing videos. So she is a lovely lady, and she's very calm and very forward in doing it. If you have any ideas that you would like to hear about, please let us know in the comments. And as I was saying, I've just got to get rid of that one and that one. That Michelle Carley will be on next week, and she will be talking about sexual harassment and sexual abuse. And this is related to people who have been through this or may now at this point be going through this particular, I don't want to say problem, because it's not really a problem, it's greater than a problem. This really shouldn't be happening, and it's something that a lot of people really don't want to face. I was actually at a book launch today by Catherine Keevy, who has just written a book for children on sexual abuse, and that could be covered as in schools, or you may find that there are things that people do or say that you can pick up on, because a lot of us really don't notice these sorts of things as they're happening. So tune in next week for Michelle Carley, and she will be talking about sexual abuse. Please pass this on to other people. We really want to get some people interested in talking about this and finding information out on this. Now, later in the show, I will be doing a healing for the throat area this week. We're going to be looking at communication and If it's at all possible, I will put the book details into the comments, but it will probably be tomorrow. So what I will do now, just give me a moment if you will, and I will try and find, I'm going to put the bookings one up for me. Now, this is my email address, and you are more than welcome to send me an email to the link. Don't worry about the bookings, just send an email to the link of roy@moonandmars.com.au, and I will certainly get in contact with you about the book. It's called Angel, and it's only a children's book, so there's not a lot of pages, and it's aimed at children and how they would respond. You can also talk to Michelle next week, who will be talking about sexual abuse and sexual harassment in adults. And I believe she is writing a book also on this same topic. So this is another one about healing yourself within. And sometimes we would like to help other people who are desperately in need, but we just don't know what to say or how to say it and how to promote ourselves to these people. So again, this comes back to healing yourself, because if you feel comfortable doing it for somebody else, you can feel comfortable with yourself talking to people. It might be your own children, your own family, your own friends, about topics that sometimes are difficult to broach. And two of the greatest ones we have running at the moment is sexual abuse and death. For some reason, we all fear the Grim Reaper from coming around and knocking on the door, and some of us have, I guess, a perplexing idea that today is great and we will live today, and what happens tomorrow happens tomorrow, and that's wonderful mindfulness. But the closer we come to incidents that scare us, lovely. Thank you very much, Irene. Irene has just left a note that she knows somebody who can talk about crystals. So I will just respond to that if you don't mind. Please let me know who and how to contact, and then we can possibly have somebody in the future come on and talk about crystals. It's see, that's one of the things about live TV, that if you put something up and you say you want to hear about a specific topic, then we can look into that. And healing within is about Reiki energy, using that on yourself and your food, your animals, using it everywhere. It's about chakra balancing, keeping yourself calm, keeping yourself grounded and centered. It's about Tai Chi, Qigong, those not heavy exercises, because a lot of the older people, and I count myself in amongst that, we used to run around when we were younger, but we don't find the energy to do that, and the necessity to keep the body working at its peak proficiency. It's good to do Qigong and Tai Chi because the motions are slow, but the actual exercise of doing Tai Chi and Qigong is sufficient to move those muscles and exercise those muscles in a particular form that stops you from having to race out and do a 4K jog around the block. Also, we can get people on. We have somebody coming in a few weeks who will be talking about geomancy, which is using crystals as a way of divination. And it's rather different. So that's another one that we're looking up in the upcoming weeks. to keep you interested in different that's going on. So from my perspective, I do Reiki energy. So if you're a person who enjoys doing or having healing, and you may well be going through, say, a medical procedure, and you know it's coming up, so you can then go on and see a Reiki person, and they can offer you energy, which they then, with the use of certain symbols, will hold that within the body for up to 7 days. And this can help you both in the preceding time to a procedure, so that your energy is kept balanced and grounded, and you don't get that heart stress from panicking about what's going to happen. It can also be used after a procedure to recover quicker and to gain a lot of your energy back a lot quicker by having somebody offer you Reiki afterwards. It can also be used on the short term. You may be feeling backaches and energy aches around the body, and you're at a market or something and somebody is doing Reiki healings, then you can use that person to offer you insight into what's happening in that area. It may simply be that you are holding stress or emotions in a particular area, and Reiki can help to release those. We also find that Reiki is very good for throat activation, third eye activation, and heart problems. When people are depressed and suffering from anxiety, it doesn't stop anxiety or depression, but it does help to boost the energy around that area and help to relieve the strain put on by the person themselves. So this is also a good benefit of Reiki. And there are multitudes of uses for on yourself and on other people. There are classes that you can do for Reiki 1 to get started, and Reiki 2, which is for distance healing and for long-term or at least periodic healings, which are meant to last for more than a few hours. On top of that, Reiki is one of those things that once you use it, you tend to use it on everything. You really don't think about it. I also do massage, and I find that when I'm doing massage, I automatically go into a Reiki healing aspect while I'm doing the massage itself. So it's something that will continue to move on through your day. You can use it when you're feeling tired or stressed to boost the energy. You can also use Reiki on your animals. Now, sometimes if you know you've got to take the animal to a vet, it pays to offer this Reiki energy to the animal, and the chances are that this will both settle the animal and will help in the recovery of the animal. If you intend on doing this as a Reiki therapist, then you should be aware that the animal chakras are different from the human chakras. And so sometimes placing your hands on a human, you will have it in a particular chakra area for a specific effect. And if you use it on animals, you have to take into consideration where these chakras are on the animal so that you can alter your placements and where you're putting the energy on an animal rather than yourself. And this is used in up in the hills. There's quite a few people who do horse treatments and chiropractic work on horses and llamas that I'm aware of, and they use Reiki as a healing aspect while they're doing the healings on the horses. So it does have a multitude of healthy aspects, and this is one of the things that we are trying to promote people to take on, instead of just going to your doctor and saying, I've got a cough, cold, or I have a particular ailment in my stomach that needs a specialist to look at, it's fine to go along and see these people, but it's best that we find other ways to assist in our own healing. And healing within is about healing ourselves and not just going to the doctor and accepting everything that's said to them. Now, I am going to be doing a general healing on the throat. So if you would like to tune into that, I seem to be losing my my touch because the people are tuning in at the wrong time. Now what we're going to have is a heartbeat aspect on the drum. This will be followed by either a flute or a bowl, and please, if you would care to just close the eyes, relax and breathe gently. Hopefully this will be aimed at the throat area of the body, and it should affect both the third eye and down as far as the heart. So please take that into mind. Just get yourself comfortable and let's start up. Feel the tone of the drum as it goes into the throat area. Take a deep breath into the throat. Slowly breathe out through the mouth. Let the heartbeat be the rhythm that you're breathing in and breathing out. Breathe in again. Let the breath come out through the mouth slowly, as if you were pursing the lips and saying the word ooh. Deep breath into the lungs, bring it out. This time actually voice tone ah. You should feel the vibration very low in the throat. You take a deep breath in and you do the ooh. U is actually meant to increase the heart rate and vibrate the box, the throat, very low down and stretch the side walls of the throat. Now to settle that down, just keep your eyes closed and now listen to the tone that comes out and concentrate this tone onto the throat area. Feel it vibrate through the throat. If you can, try and make a sound which is similar in tone to the bowl, either on that tone or an octave lower. And now we go a little bit lower. Match that tone if you can, either above or below or right on the note, and feel it coming through the throat, exercising the voice box and the lungs. The energy that you feel should be going through the throat, activating the throat chakra, part of the heart chakra, and part of the third eye chakra. Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Now take a deep breath, let it out. And hopefully that has helped in the throat area of your body. Now, I use Tibetan bowls, and last week I used crystal bowls. Now, if you're a person who is interested in sound, I also have a retail aspect that I can actually, in pretty much local areas, come to your door with a range of bowls, if that is something that interests you, doing sound work for chakras, throats, healing, aura balancing, sound healings, sound bath. We can look at that. Now, of a Thursday night, I do a course on sound healing and massage. Oh God, I'm doing well tonight. Doing sound bath and meditations of a Thursday night at St. Clement's Church on Main North Road at Prospect, and you're more than welcome to join in. It's $20. It starts at 7:30 in the evening and goes till 8:30. And then after that, you're more than welcome to have a chin wag or head out home. But so long as you're there before the 7:30, it's good. So remember, St. Clement's Church, St. Clement's Street, Prospect. Now, you will have the opportunity of having the sound bath there, as well as seeing the range of bowls that are on offer, because I tend to use most of them in the sound bath and sound healing. Now, as I mentioned, next week we will have Michelle Carley talking about sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Please, if you know of people who would be interested in the topic, pass this around. Keep an eye out for My Time TV Live and find out when Healing Within Number 15 is on, which is next Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time. And we are always on the lookout for people who have a particular healing aspect that a lot of people would like to hear about. So if you know somebody in particular that does a form of healing that we haven't covered or we should cover, please contact us and let us know so that we can inform other people about what's coming up. Now, if you want to see, or even you might want to have an interview, you're more than welcome to contact me, roy@moonandmars.com.au, and leave a message on my email. Make sure that you put an interview with healing within in this subject, or I may overlook it, because believe me, there are more trolls out there and more spam than I can deal with at the best of times. So please put in the subject heading interview on. Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. It's lovely, honestly. Please pass it around, and hopefully the interviews in the future will be just as interesting. And maybe you can suggest somebody that might fit the criteria that you would like to know more about. Thank you very much, Sarah, for your time and for coming on tonight. I appreciate your joining us. Now, I've only got a few minutes left, so I will remind you that next week Michelle Carley will be talking about sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Please tell as many people as you can and share with them. If there was something that you wanted to see in this particular show, please catch it in the replay. We're more than happy to see that. And if you watch it in replay, please put down where you are, because we'd love to know whereabouts we're connecting with. Could be Adelaide, might be interstate, might be overseas. We're always happy to have people no matter where you're from. I'm Roy from Moon and Mask. I actually run this particular Healing Within, and I do a couple of other shows, but they are on a different channel. So that's for another time and another day. Just keep an eye on our Facebook page, Moon and Mask. You will find a lot of what I do, and also you will find other interviews and other shows that we do on different channels will appear there. And if you're a person of spiritual need, the Body Mind Psychic is coming up very shortly at Wayville. I suggest that you come along and make yourself known down there and catch up with a lot of the people there. There's some beautiful people going to be there that are healers, they're readers, and they cover all sorts of areas from vegan food to hemp products to incense to just about every need you could possibly have. Come along to the Body Mind Psychic at Wayville this 22nd, I think it is, 22nd, 23rd. So it's not very far away. And it's been fun to have you on tonight. And I look forward to catching up with you at sometime in the near future. Please tune in for our future broadcasts and tell your friends. Thank you very much, and good night from Healing Within and Roy Fensom. Thank you very much.